Everyone, it's Christian here from 100 Concepts. Today we'll be talking a little bit about why the LPVO and top dot setup is one of our favorite setups for GPR or do most rifles, as I like to call them. So this is just my 14.5 build, and it's a very capable build, and I love using it in multiple different scenarios, and it's just been great for me. So hopping into the LPVO, why would you want to run an LPVO on your rifle? Well, some of the main benefits are magnification, so having a little bit more precision at distance is very, very nice. Also, the etch reticle, so you'll always have a permanent aiming solution inside your scope at all times. So whether your battery dies or an EMP hits or some crazy made up scenario, you'll always have that etch reticle in there as well. Another huge thing is PID, or positive identification. So being able to have a much clearer image of what you're wanting to engage is very, very critical for accountability. Also, a lot of the LPVOs these days with Christmas tree reticles have some type of ranging feature built into them. So that gives you quick on-the-fly ranging capabilities, which is very, very nice to have as well. Okay, so hopping into the top-mounted dot, I just have a Trijicon RMR that I took off of one of my pistols and mounted it at the 12 o'clock position specifically. You can also do a 45-degree offset, but the main reason I like the 12 o'clock position is because of passive aiming with night vision. If you're running a 45-degree offset with nods, you will run into a couple issues, which are, it's usually mounted pretty low to the body of the gun, so your left tube, if you're running duals, will be contacting the LPVO, which can get very annoying, and then getting your head low enough on the gun to get through the optic can start bashing things on your gun as well. So it just feels a little cluttered. The 12 o'clock gives you the ability to just have a much more natural position. Just have your head up, you bring the gun up, bring the sight up to your eyes, and it's right there. So another great capability of the 12 o'clock mounted dot is quick target referencing when you're shooting at distance. You can just put the dot on whatever you're wanting to engage, drop down into your LPVO, and you'll be right on target. Okay, so in terms of the speed difference between a 12 o'clock versus a 45-degree offset, it's probably the same. Just getting your chin from LPVO to top dot is very fast. The negative of a 45-degree is it's still pretty fast, but you're having to change the stock placement slightly when you're rolling that gun over. So just having the ability to have the same stock position going to the 12 o'clock dot is pretty nice. So as with anything, there are some cons to this specific setup, both the LPVO and the top-mounted red dot. Some of the cons of the top-mounted red dot usually come from your choice in optic mount height. So typically you'll see optic mounts from 154 to 193, and sometimes you'll see a 17. So this is the Badger Ordnance Condition 1 mount, and I have mine at 1.7 inches. The optic mount height kind of determines where your 12 o'clock red dot is in relation to your face. Too high, you'll end up losing your cheek weld or chin weld. So for me, I can still get a fairly good chin weld on the gun. It's not as stable as a full-on cheek weld, but it's just enough for me personally. If I went any higher, I would not like it at all. I would say probably like a 154-inch mount is best for most people because that gives you the best optic mount in the prone position specifically with the LPVO. And then it gives you a very good top-mounted position for your 12 o'clock red dot. I would typically advise people be very careful when you're choosing your optic mount height. Higher may seem better, like a 193, and it is very good for LPVO when you're standing up. So just take that into consideration, whether you're going to be shooting prone or if you're going to be standing up more. I kind of went in the middle with the 1.7 because I do a fair amount of both, shooting longer range stuff and also shooting more stand-up stuff. So just pay close attention to that and don't rush into it. So moving into some of the cons of the LPVO. So with an LPVO, you will be making a few compromises in a couple different areas. One of the biggest issues is field of view. So at 8 times, for example, that is the max magnification of this specific optic. You'll usually either lack some type of clarity or you'll have a tighter eye box. So if you move your head out of position, you'll start getting some shadowing. And then at 1 times, it's still not going to be as forgiving as something like a red dot where you have basically unlimited eye relief. So your head positioning and your shoulder placement and being consistent is much more important with an LPVO. and it really comes down to training. So just making sure you're getting your reps in and making sure that gun is getting to the same spot every single time can mitigate that. But an LPVO will most likely never be as fast as a red dot for most people. So another downside of the LPVO is the 1X. So the Plxc has a very, very good 1X, probably one of the better ones out there, but it's still not a true 1X like a red dot, for example. So you still get a little bit of that bubble effect, and it just doesn't look as flat as a red dot, but it's not a huge deal. Some optics are better than others. You'll notice it more on some of the cheaper LPVOs out there. So just take that into consideration as well. Another thing to put some thought into is the weight. So this setup for me is not very heavy for me personally, but it's not going to be as light as just having like a Aimpoint T2 or a Eotech or something. But I would rather have better magnification, like a 1:8 or a 1:10 versus a Eotech and a magnifier, for example. Okay, so we've covered some of the pros and cons of the LPVO and top dot setup. A lot of us here at 100 Concepts have built out these types of rifles because we don't really know what kind of situations we're getting into. We're not military, we're not law enforcement or anything, but whether it's long range shooting or going coyote hunting on the same night or going to an indoor range at much closer distances, this just allows us to have one rifle that can be pretty good at most things, although not perfect. And lastly, for you OHC insiders, we have compiled a lot of different LPVOs on the market, and you'll be able to go in with your criteria and search them by weight, magnification, price, and it will rank it based on that criteria and give you the best option for yourself. So head over to 100concepts.com, go to the Vault tab to be able to access that. Also, thank you guys for watching the video. We'll be diving into this topic a lot deeper in the future. We'll also be giving you guys a lot more data and a lot more content. So remember to like and subscribe and comment down below. We would love to hear your feedback, and we would also love to know what you guys would like to see next. And remember, do good, be dangerous, live free.